If you're over 45 and you've ever thought, I'm doing all the right things, so why isn't my body responding? This is for you. I see this constantly. You're walking regularly, you're adding protein, you're doing some weights and exercise, you're cleaning up your diet, you're being thoughtful, you're being consistent, but still your strength gains, your energy gains, your progress flatlines. Fat loss slows down, recovery feels like it takes forever, your energy is unpredictable, and of course, it's easy to blame age. And yes, biology changes over time, but age on its own is not the full story. What's often changed is responsiveness. Your body doesn't respond the same way under all the same conditions. So the same protein intake, the same workout, the same effort, they can produce completely different results depending on what is happening internally inside your body. And this is an idea that is becoming increasingly clear in the research. So a absolutely brand spanking new 2026 review paper, which examines polyphenols and age-related muscle loss, looks at how plant compounds influence muscle preservation as we age. The focus wasn't just on protein alone. The researchers looked at signaling pathways. We're going to get into that in just a second. But they were asking a deeper question. What determines whether we age and muscle actually responds to stimulus? Muscle growth and repair rely heavily on signaling pathways like mTOR, M-T-O-R. And mTOR stands for Mechanistic Target of Rapamycin. It's a regulator inside your cells that determines whether your body should build and grow, repair or conserve, or keep your energy locked away for later. And when you lift weights or eat protein or take other actions, mTOR sends a signal to your body to build. That is the anabolic response. That's how we maintain strength and metabolic tissue and grow strength and metabolic tissue. But aging muscle often becomes less sensitive to those signals. So researchers sometimes refer to this as anabolic resistance. It means the same dose of protein produces weaker muscle protein synthesis than it once did. And, as you probably won't be surprised to hear, chronic low-grade inflammation contributes to that resistance. It blunts the anabolic signaling. So you can eat adequate protein, you can be doing the right things, but the signal is muted. Oxidative stress contributes to this massively as well because it disrupts cellular communication, it increases background cellular damage, and these two things together are not good news. Repair systems end up working so much harder just to maintain balance and stability. Third thing you're looking at is the mitochondria. These are your cellular energy producers. So if mitochondrial function declines, the energy that's actually required to start repairing and rebuilding, this goes down here too. So you might have the building blocks of the protein and the exercise, but the energy to use them efficiently is dramatically reduced. So the review paper, what did this study find? It found that polyphenols, these plant nutrients, appear to improve this internal environment. They change the environment, not by directly building muscle, but by lower the inflammation, lowering the acid load and reducing the oxidative stress. This supports that mitochondrial efficiency. And through those mechanisms, it improves the muscle responsiveness and it slows that aging process. So that distinction really matters. It's so important because this isn't about trying to force growth and force that change in your body. It's about enabling the balance, enabling the response. And as I say so often, giving your body the tools it needs to thrive. And here's where this becomes really, really practical because resistance shows up in really subtle ways. You increase protein, but you don't feel stronger. You lift weights and you feel sore the next day, but you're not getting measurably stronger and fitter. You clean up your diet and the scale barely moves. You sleep better, but your energy still feels inconsistent. And those aren't a sign of failure. They're signs that your system isn't yet fully responsive. When inflammation is high, the anabolic response is muted. When oxidative stress is high, your repair is much slower. When there's excess acid load and your mitochondrial output is reduced, your energy gets rationed for those moments where it's most needed. That's not weakness. That's just your system out of balance. It's a biological response. And you can already see this aligns so closely with what I've been teaching for years. When I talk about my triple A model, I'm talking about acidity, inflammation, oxidative stress, and that mitochondrial function. Those are not random talking points. They are the foundational biological levers that sit kind of below every goal that you're trying to create for your body. If your inflammation's up, that signaling is impaired. If your oxidative stress is up, repair slows. If acid load is high, your energy production drops because your body is dropping everything to balance that acidity and keep that pH at the appropriate level throughout your body. But when these areas start to improve, everything becomes more responsive, not magically, but mechanistically. Now, when we broaden this out and widen the lens a little bit further, this isn't isolated to just muscle. This is impacting your endocrine tissue and your endocrine system. It impacts your insulin sensitivity, your blood sugar regulation, your metabolic rate, your bone density, all of these things. And muscle kind of sits at the intersection of what I call the 5 master systems. And if you've read either of my books, The Alkaline Life or The Alkaline Reset Cleanse, you'll know all about the 5 master systems. So the endocrine system being one of these chief systems, this regulates insulin, cortisol, your anabolic hormones. Chronic cortisol elevation increases muscle breakdown. It increases acidity in the body. It reduces your insulin sensitivity. Your digestive system determines whether you're going to absorb the amino acids and the minerals that are required for repair and muscle growth. Your detoxification system influences your inflammatory load and your oxidative burden. The immune system influences that chronic inflammatory signaling, so it kind of goes in a vicious cycle. And of course, sat at the top of all of this, your pH balancing system influences your mineral buffering, your muscle and your bone formation, your ability to control cortisol, and everything in between. And when those systems are overloaded, isn't a sign that the work you're doing is pointless. It's a sign that you need to rebalance. It's a sign of resistance. And resistant tissue doesn't respond dramatically to small inputs and random little bit of healthy action here, a little bit of healthy action there, sandwiched up with a load of unhealthy stuff. And this is where the concept of health drift becomes important, because your health rarely collapses overnight. It shifts gradually. Muscle doesn't disappear in just a little moment. It declines in small increments. Your metabolism doesn't crash suddenly. It drifts. It slowly becomes less and less responsive. We know this, that when we do nothing for our health, we will naturally lose a small amount of lean muscle mass every year. Your resting metabolic rate drops that little bit every year. Your insulin sensitivity declines just that little gradual amount every year. And when this happens, your recovery, it does take longer. Your sleep becomes lighter. And all of these examples, none of this feels dramatic in the moment today, but direction, your health direction matters more than intensity. And if your direction of your health is drifting, if it's slightly downward for 5 years, the cumulative effect of this becomes so noticeable. And that's why midlife changes can feel sudden, not because they happen overnight, but because the drift was gradual and unnoticed. And when people sense that drift, when it becomes apparent, when you get an example of it, people often respond then with urgency. They'll push harder, they'll restrict more, they'll overtrain, they'll chase intensity, and they'll create this big, perfect plan to turn it around. But that urgency and that perfect plan applied into that resistance rarely produces the leverage you need to see change. Leverage comes from improving your body's responsiveness, improving the environment in your body first, reducing that load, creating that balance. And this explains something that most people have experienced, because there's periods in your life where change feels easier, where energy improves quickly, where strength builds faster and weight loss accelerates when that's your goal. And there's periods where nothing seems to move. It feels random, but it isn't random. What's happening is your internal conditions shift. And when your internal conditions shift, responsiveness shifts with them. When your responsiveness increases, the same behavior that you were doing before produces more noticeable results. And that's not luck. That's your body balancing, it's your body aligning. And if you've ever felt like you're pushing and not progressing, it's not a motivation issue. It's not a discipline issue. You're not doing the wrong things, but effort applied to a body that is out of balance, that resistant state, it's going to produce modest results at best. Effort put into a balanced body, a responsive state, it will feel like it's giving you disproportionate returns. And this difference over time is absolutely enormous. And so this raises a much better question. If responsiveness depends on internal conditions, what actually improves those internal conditions? How do you reduce inflammatory load meaningfully? How do you reduce that acid load and increase that beautiful pH balance? How do you improve the efficiency of your mitochondria? How can you actually shift your terrain, the balance of your body, so that it becomes so much more responsive? This is a far more useful question than simply asking how to push harder. Of course, effort matters. Consistency is so important, but your environment matters so much more. When you've got that balance, when the internal environment shifts, your health direction shifts too. And over time, this is huge. It's everything. And it's something we're going to be exploring much more deeply over the next couple of weeks. For today, I'd love you to explore more about this study that's on the page right now, because it is so eye-opening. Start to think about this differently. Think less about the perfect plan and about the push and the effort, and more about how can I create the terrain in my body? How can I recreate that responsiveness of my body so that the effort that I'm making gets me those disproportionate results? I'll see you all soon. Think about this one. Take care.